Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Light and Little Lamb. In today's episode, we explore the riveting Bible story of Jacob from the book of Genesis. Fleeing from his brother Esau, Jacob finds love and faces deceit in Haran, where his journey takes dramatic turns. From marrying Leah and Rachel to wrestling with a divine being and earning the name Israel, Jacob's story is a powerful saga of love, conflict, and redemption. Join us as we delve into the events that shape one of the patriarchs of Israel and his profound legacy. Jacob, seeking refuge from the wrath of his brother Esau and following the advice of his parents, travels to Haran with the aim of finding a wife from his mother's side of the family. Upon arriving in Haran, he encounters Rachel at a well. Rachel, the daughter of Laban, who is Jacob's uncle, is tending her father's sheep. Struck by her beauty and grace, Jacob is instantly enamored with Rachel. In a display of affection and strength, he impresses her by single-handedly rolling away a large stone from the well to water her flock. This act of kindness does not go unnoticed by Rachel, who quickly informs her father Laban of Jacob's arrival. Seeing an opportunity in Jacob's arrival, Laban invites him to stay and soon proposes a deal. Jacob, deeply in love with Rachel, agrees to work for Laban for 7 years in exchange for her hand in marriage. This agreement marks the beginning of Jacob's prolonged engagement, driven by his love for Rachel and his commitment to earn her hand through hard work and devotion. After 7 years of diligent labor, Jacob fulfilled his agreement with Laban and requested Rachel's hand in marriage, eagerly anticipating the union with the woman he loved. Laban organized a grand wedding feast, and Jacob, filled with joy and expectation, participated in the traditional ceremonies. However, under the veil of night and the obscurity of bridal veils, Laban deceitfully substituted Leah, his elder daughter, for Rachel. The following morning, the light of dawn brought with it a shocking revelation for Jacob. Upon discovering that it was Leah and not Rachel beside him, Jacob confronted Laban. Laban coolly justified his actions by citing a local custom. The older daughter must marry before the younger one. Stunned, yet still deeply in love with Rachel, Jacob agreed to Laban's terms once more. Laban stipulated that Jacob must complete the wedding week with Leah, and then he could also marry Rachel, provided that Jacob committed to another 7 years of labor. Jacob consented, driven by his unwavering love for Rachel. He married Rachel after the celebrations with Leah concluded, entering into another long-term commitment to serve Laban. This agreement, while burdensome, demonstrated Jacob's profound devotion and resilience, leading to the eventual fulfillment of his desire to be with Rachel. However, this arrangement also sowed the seeds for future discord and complex family dynamics. Jacob, having established his family in the land where his father Isaac lived, went on to father 12 sons and 1 daughter. These children were born from 4 different women: Leah, Rachel, and their handmaidens Bilhah and Zilpah, each of whom played a pivotal role in the genesis of the tribes of Israel. Leah, Jacob's first wife through Laban's deceit, bore him 6 sons and 1 daughter. Her sons were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. Reuben, as the eldest, held a special place, though each son eventually became the progenitor of a tribe. Leah also gave birth to Dinah, the only daughter among Jacob's children. Rachel, Jacob's most loved wife, was initially unable to conceive, which caused her great distress. After many years, she finally gave birth to Joseph, who would later save his family from famine by bringing them to Egypt, where he had risen to a position of power. Rachel died giving birth to her second son, Benjamin, as Jacob's family traveled back to their ancestral home. During the years of Rachel's barrenness, she gave her servant Bilhah to Jacob as a wife, hoping to have children through her. Bilhah bore 2 sons, Dan and Naphtali, who would each lead one of the tribes of Israel. Similarly, Leah, seeing that she had stopped having children, gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob. Zilpah bore 2 sons, Gad and Asher, who also became heads of their own tribes. Thus, the 12 tribes of Israel were formed, each reflecting the diverse characteristics and destinies foretold by Jacob. These tribes formed the nation of Israel, fulfilling the promise made by God to Abraham, continued through Isaac and carried forward by Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel after wrestling with an angel, symbolizing his struggles with God and men and his prevailing faith. After many years of service, Jacob negotiated a new agreement with Laban for his wages. Laban, having seen the prosperity that followed Jacob's management of his flocks, was reluctant to let him go. To secure his own future and compensation for years of labor, Jacob proposed that his wages be all the speckled and spotted goats and all the black sheep from Laban's herds. Laban agreed, believing these to be less valuable. Jacob then employed a clever selective breeding technique. He placed peeled branches in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink. The branches had stripes and speckles exposed by peeling, and as the flocks bred in front of these striped and speckled branches, the offspring they produced carried these same patterns. This method, which utilized visual stimuli at the point of breeding, significantly increased the number of speckled and spotted animals, thereby growing Jacob's personal wealth rapidly. As Jacob's wealth increased, so did the envy and resentment of Laban's sons. They began to accuse Jacob of stealing their father's wealth. Laban himself noticed the shift in the composition of his flocks, and his attitude towards Jacob changed from subtle disregard to outright hostility. No longer the favorable family member, Jacob perceived the growing animosity and tension. During this time, God came to Jacob in a dream and instructed him to return to the land of his fathers, to his family, and promised divine protection and continued blessings. God reminded Jacob of the promise to make his offspring as numerous as the dust of the earth, spreading in all directions. Acknowledging God's directive and recognizing the increasingly fraught situation with Laban, Jacob prepared to leave. Without informing Laban, he gathered his family and all his possessions, including the large flocks he had acquired, and began the journey back to his father Isaac in Canaan, thus setting the stage for further developments in his life's journey and the fulfillment of God's promises to his ancestors. One day, without informing Laban, Jacob gathered his wives, children, and all his livestock and set off secretly for Canaan. He crossed the Euphrates River and headed towards the hill country of Gilead, hoping to avoid any confrontation with Laban. However, when Laban learned that Jacob had fled, he was furious. After gathering his relatives, Laban pursued Jacob for 7 days and finally caught up with him in the hills of Gilead. But the night before Laban reached Jacob, God came to Laban in a dream. God warned him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad." The next day, when Laban confronted Jacob, their encounter was tense. Laban expressed his displeasure and confusion about why Jacob had fled secretly and stolen away without saying goodbye. He claimed that he would have sent Jacob off with a celebration if he had only known. Laban also accused Jacob of stealing his household gods. Jacob defended himself, explaining his fear that Laban would take his daughters away by force. As for the stolen gods, Jacob declared that whoever had them should not live, not knowing that his wife Rachel had taken them. After searching all of Jacob's possessions and finding no gods, Laban and Jacob decided to make peace. They set up a stone pillar at Mizpah as a witness to their agreement that neither would harm the other, and that Jacob would take care of Laban's daughters. They swore an oath at Mizpah, where Laban said, "May the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent one from another." With this oath of peace, Laban returned to his home, and Jacob continued on his journey to Canaan, Relieved to have avoided conflict and hopeful for the future reuniting with his father, Isaac, Jacob, on his journey back to Canaan, knew he would soon meet his brother Esau, from whom he had fled many years ago after deceiving him out of his birthright. Anxious about the reunion, Jacob decided to send ahead a series of gifts to Esau, hoping to pacify his brother's long-held anger. These gifts included herds of livestock, sent in waves to impress and appease Esau. As night fell, Jacob sent his family and all his possessions across the stream of Jabbok, while he remained behind, alone in contemplation and prayer. It was during this solitary night that Jacob encountered a mysterious figure, a man who appeared suddenly and without any warning. Jacob and the mysterious man wrestled throughout the night, locked in a physical struggle that lasted until the break of dawn. Neither prevailed over the other, and as the first light began to appear, the man realized he could not overpower Jacob. In a sudden move, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, dislocating it, yet Jacob still did not let go. Impressed by Jacob's tenacity and unwillingness to yield, the man asked Jacob to release him, but Jacob refused, saying, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The man then asked Jacob his name, and upon his reply, the man declared, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." This renaming signified Jacob's transformation and growth. The name Israel means he struggles with God, and it marked a significant spiritual milestone in Jacob's life, symbolizing his persistence, struggles, and eventual triumphs. As the man disappeared, Jacob realized he had seen God face to face and named the place Peniel, meaning the face of God. Despite his injury, Jacob continued on his way, limping because of his hip, yet spiritually renewed and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, including the impending reunion with his brother Esau. After many years of separation and Jacob's long journey filled with trials and personal transformations, the time finally came for him to reunite with his brother Esau. As Jacob approached Esau's land, he was apprehensive, not knowing if Esau still harbored resentment for the deceit that had once driven them apart. To show his goodwill and seek forgiveness, Jacob sent ahead gifts of livestock to his brother. To Jacob's relief and surprise, when Esau arrived to meet him, it was not with hostility, but with open arms. Esau ran to Jacob, embraced him, fell on his neck, and kissed him, both brothers weeping with joy and relief. This heartfelt reunion marked not just the end of their estrangement, but also a new beginning of reconciliation. The brothers spoke at length, catching up on the years lost and sharing their experiences. Esau initially refused Jacob's gifts, asserting that he had plenty, but Jacob insisted, expressing these gifts as a symbol of his apology and respect. Finally, Esau accepted, further solidifying their renewed bond. Following this profound reconciliation, Jacob continued to Canaan with God's blessings and guidance. He purchased a piece of land where he pitched his tent. Recognizing the significance of the place in his journey, Jacob built an altar there, dedicating it to God who had been with him throughout his ordeals, protected him on his journey, and fulfilled the promises made to him. This place of settlement was not just a physical home, but a spiritual milestone. Thank you for joining us as we journeyed through the life of Jacob, a story of perseverance, deception, and divine encounters. From his struggles in Haran to his transformation into Israel, Jacob's story offers us profound insights into faith and redemption. If you enjoyed our exploration of Jacob's becomes Israel and want to discover more fascinating stories from the Bible, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps support the channel and lets us bring more content to you. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss an episode. We have many more stories to share, and we'd love for you to be part of our spiritual journey. Share this video with friends and family who enjoy biblical stories or might be curious about the meanings behind them. And if you have any thoughts or questions about today's story, leave us a comment below. God bless you all.